Hey, y'all. Today we have another guest that you all recognize, and some of our longer talks because OJ and I just go back and forth, and he has so many awesome ideas. He spent some time with Anscape. He's currently at Philly Tribune. Where else have you been over at, OJ? The Anscape and Philly Trib are the ones that come to mind for me.
Well, that's my writing career, and started out in radio here locally at
Okay.
WRD Radio, and then I just kind of crossed over to writing. I mean, most of the time it's the other way around. You have journalists and writers, and they make the transition to radio. So I kind of did the opposite.
Okay. Interesting. So we're just coming minutes off of Joel Embiid just going off. I mean, just making a total statement game, 47, 18, 5, 3, and 2. I mean, the team is 20-4 in the last 24 games. I asked you, this was, and probably it lines up to be right. You know, me looking silly, like, here they come. But I was very skeptical. Am I wrong to be, kind of walking those comments back, OJ? Are you feeling confident about this team?
No, that's fine, man. Because you never knew. You never know. First of all, health-wise, how healthy and in shape, actually. How healthy and in shape combined that Joel Embiid and James Harden would be.
Yep.
So, we can only go by the past year, and also James Harden only coming in March of last season, playing just under 24 games. And looking back on that, it's really a small
sample.
Yeah, small sample size to kind of look at. And then, when the playoffs came around and, stuff hit the fan. So I held back and I said, okay, how will this season play out with a full season of one, James Harden, and number two, how healthy will both he and Embiid be? Embiid missed a few games early in the season, late 2022. But if you look at this 20-4 stretch, which includes 7 in a row, I mean, winning 20 out of your last 24, I mean, that's, we're, I don't want to say the historic rule, but yeah, but that's cooking on all cylinders, running on all cylinders. So, and it starts with Embiid, and he's playing the best basketball of his career. And I don't know who I thought we would ever say that, because, we've seen his run of last year. We've seen his run of 2020, 2021, just coming back from the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, slowly.
Absolutely.
But, I put up a stat. I put up a historical stat a couple weeks ago, and this is even before he retook the scoring average lead. If Embiid goes on to win the scoring title, he would be the first true center to win back-to-back scoring titles since Kareem, and that was 50 years ago.
Wow.
First true center. And I had
wait. Shaq was 50 years ago. Shaq was 50, or are you talking about Wilt?
Kareem. I mean, I'm sorry.
Kareem.
Did I say Kareem? Okay.
No, I think you said Shaq.
Okay. Yeah, my apologies. Yeah. So he would be the first true center since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to win back-to-back scoring titles. And what I meant to say was, I did some research on this because I thought Shaq would be in there. He won back-to-back titles, but that's not the case. He won multiple scoring titles, but they weren't
not back-to-back. Okay.
Right. David Robinson also, because I thought it might have been David Robinson, and not him either. Because if you remember, this may predate you a little bit, but one season,
I'm a student of the game.
Yes. So about the story where David Robinson and Shaq went to the final game of the season for the scoring title, and I think David Robinson scored like 71 points or something like that to win
That was historic.
Yeah, to win the scoring title, and it went down. That almost never happens, by the way. But getting back to this run of
Give
Embiid,
71 and walk off 71. Ugh,
there you go.
filthy.
There you go. So yeah, how many I need? Okay, I'm dropping 71. And looking back at David Robinson, he really didn't have that type of personality, but he went and got that one. So, but going back to Embiid and the Sixers in this great run that they're having. I mean, and look, nobody wants to give Doc Rivers credit over this span. Nobody wants to give him credit. It's like
of course
taboo
not.
thing. But listen, if you go 20-4, your last 24, 25 games, it can't be in spite of the coach, right?
No, exactly.
So, the contributions that they're getting from
Doc has to actually be on the parade, at the parade, then Doc can get some credit. Like most of the fan base will not say nice things about him unless he's riding down, on the float.
Here's the contrast, man. Remember, and this is an ongoing thing. Before the season, probably even before the draft, the Eagles, the NFL draft, it was Fire Howie, right? It was Fire Howie. Before he got AJ Brown, before he got Jordan Davis, before he got, James Bradbury, the list goes on and on. I know we'll get to that in a second. But then you go back 5 years until they made the playoff run and won the Super Bowl. It was Fire Howie before that season. And Howie's still Teflon Don. So maybe we'll see.
So is it that fire? Is that fire making him better?
It could be. It could be. But if you look at he's almost redeemed himself for all his draft busts. Howie Roseman. He's pretty much. When I look back at it, he's pretty much redeemed himself. We don't even talk about Danny Watkins anymore.
No. He's almost past Rager. Like what's the last? It's crazy that Rager is so. Yeah. It feels like Rager was years ago.
Right. Well, that's what acquiring AJ Brown does for your reputation. So but maybe we'll have a similar outcome with Doc Rivers. But you got to give him credit that he's doing a great job, and I'm thoroughly impressed. Scoring is up and everything. You'll see in a lot of games in the 120s, some of the 130s and everything. But Sixers are making key stops when they have to. So you have to give Doc credit with that, because I know his claim to fame over time had been defense. So, and for what you're not getting offensively with PJ Tucker, you're getting it on the defensive end. You saw that with the Nuggets game just now. He did a very good, even though Jokic still almost had a triple-double, he did a great job against Jokic. And the contributions they're getting off the bench with Melton, Shake Milton, even though he's not getting as much time because Maxi's back, but George Niang, who's been, I don't know what his 3-point percentage is, but he's been consistent. So, and Tobias Harris, he had a slow start of this past game. But, to me, Harris has been pretty clutch. And
there's no trade. There's no trade. There's no trade to buy. No. I don't want to hear it from anybody.
You can't move him right now. You can't.
No.
Because it almost mess up the chemistry. I mean, I was asked earlier this week, should the Sixers get another shooter? I said, I don't think they should.
No, they got him. What do you got?
And who are you going to give up?
40, right?
Yeah, but who will you give up to kind of mess up that chemistry? I mean, unless they go into the tank these next 10 games or so, what can you do? And remember, we also said let's revisit how the Sixers look during the All-Star break. once Maxey comes back, we get to the All-Star break. How will they look then? And here we go, man.
No, I mean they're the best chance for this team is the lightning in the bottle approach. The Phillies, one of those situations. It's not going to be one of these all-star moves that are going to patch it up. You got it. This got to be internal team chemistry. They as a team pull it through. I don't think this team is going to win the finals, but if they do win the finals, it'll be because they take this locker room approach. Like, we believe in us. We know us. Yeah.
Right. Well, what you want to do, what you have to expect is, and this goes back, full circle. And a lot of Sixers fans are not really interested in the regular season, and I get it. For me, for the most part, because what's the end goal? What are we looking at? They have to, no matter what, they have to get past the second round at bare minimum. So what does that mean? Conference finals, right? So they have to reach the conference finals at a bare minimum. And many are saying, no, you got to reach the finals. So, this is all fun. And you have to try to enjoy the regular season, because you don't get your seeding, you don't get to the playoffs without a good regular season.
But seeding matters.
It's an elongated dress rehearsal, right?
So, it is.
But they've been fun to watch, man. They've been fun to watch. You can't even Doc Rivers' most heinous critics can't say nothing. They're not giving them praise, so to speak. It's just they're
just
mum.
Right. Yes. And sometimes that's the best. That's what I try to tell people in other areas of life that we could talk about off air, OJ. Sometimes
they're afraid
the best thing is you're not going to get flowers. Some people aren't going to give you flowers. You know what I mean? You don't ever expect. Just silence is best. Early. That's great. It's
still too early to give Doc his flowers.
I'm telling you, he will only. Some people.
I get it. I get it.
Will only give him flowers on the parade. Period.
We still got to make sure. So
you talk about bare minimums.
Don't give them flowers. We still got to make sure they're fresh.
That's correct. That's correct, OJ. So we talk about bare minimum. If this Eagles team doesn't get it done, is this year a failure now? I mean, because in my mind, they've already exceeded my preseason expectations, but I think many of us have adjusted. But do you think that most fans would see this year as a failure if they don't get the job done? And that being, I think, set it done is the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl.
They got to win tomorrow, right? They got to win, right? All the barricades are up downtown in Center City. Broad Street is basically already blocked off. There are already some road restrictions here in the city. They got to win, right? So, again, you have to do that as a municipality. You know how all that works, right? So, you have to put things
absolutely
into place, in case your team does win. So I get it. Right?
I know well about
it just seems like they got to win because so much is just going on. But to answer your question specifically. I think a lot of people say it'll be a failure in the media, but it'd be highly disappointing. Highly disappointing. Because
that's at bare minimum, it's highly disappointing. Yes.
Right. So
pissed off, disappointing.
Right, as a fan, like you just mentioned, what were the expectations coming to the season? Playoffs, right? Win a playoff game, maybe two. Maybe get to the point now, the NFC Championship game.
But not to not to be the number one seed. Nobody expected that.
Right. Well, your number one seed, things change. You're 14-3, things change. Your number one seed. So, yes. So, by default, you are the favorite, correct? So, therefore, you're supposed to get to the NFC Championship game. We know that, they just shrugged the Giants aside to just get there, right? So going against the 49ers, probably the biggest test that they could possibly match up with, right? Everybody's going except for them. So it's going to be highly disappointing at the bare minimum. Failure, yes, but I think a lot depends on how they lose.
Yes,
Jalen
absolutely.
Ball, Jalen Hurts balls out. He throws 3 touchdown passes, runs for 100. They lose. Well, you know what? Check that. They lose like 30, 34, 31. Jonathan Gannon's going to get the blame.
Yep.
So that's another
That
guy
he'll be the
that
automatic scapegoat.
you
The
can't
Gannon hate will
you
happen either
can't get
way.
credit for no matter what. No matter that they're second overall defense only to San Francisco, no matter their first overall and what's that yards per play or all those things and it seems
Every
like now
metric.
with all the reports that he's going to stay on as defensive coordinator. So we'll see because there's still a couple of coaching vacancies, but even some fans were disappointed. I mean, I don't get the Gannon hate, but you're not Buddy Ryan. He's not Buddy Ryan. He's not Bud Carson. He's not Jim Johnson. So, and
Jim
again,
Johnson, yeah.
except for Jim, none of those guys won anything. So
Right.
I mean, Bud won when he was a defensive coach with the Steel Curtain way back in the day, but even Schwartz. What happened with Schwartz? He was overall good defensive coordinator. Now with Cleveland, he was overall good defensive coordinator. But some people look back. Oh wait, well they gave up. What was it?
The grass isn't
30
always
point,
greener.
Yeah. So
Is not
33 points, 41-33. How can I forget that score? So yeah, it gave up 33 points. Well, not even so much the 33 points. The 400 or 500 yards of offense against that, but it was Tom Brady. I doubt he gave that up against anybody else. But it'll be disappointing and borderline failure. But I do think, I mean, I guess we shouldn't be talking about them losing, right? So
no. Because it's first off, just to recorrect, because it's not going to happen.
I guess we have to prepare.
Go ahead. The polls should be appropriately being greased right now because the Eagles are about to come through and beat the hell out of the 49ers, in my opinion.
And everything. So, yeah, and I know we'll get to the score later, but it'd be highly disappointing. It would be, Matt.
What does Brock Purdy going off look like? Because I mean, we're already at this point of the conversation. I mean, let's say we have to eat crow, because I think that not only that the Eagles win, but the Eagles win by more than a score, touchdown, not just 3, more than a score. Say I have to eat my hat. What does Brock Purdy going off even look like?
I can't even fathom Brock Purdy, quote unquote, going off per se. But
right.
if I had to say going, I would say maybe he goes 20 for 25.
3 touchdowns.
Maybe 2 touchdowns, 2 or 3 touchdown passes, and you throw one of those touchdown passes to maybe McCaffrey
to Debo.
if he stays healthy. Yeah, bubble screen to Debo or something like that. I can't see Brock Purdy going off because that's really not his game. He's basically at this point he's basically a glorified game manager. I mean, you look at his overall stats, he's a game manager. He's just an undefeated one. So yeah, probably a 20.
So was go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
If you remember, if you go back to what was that, Super Bowl 21, where Phil Simms had a day like that. Phil Simms was never a juggernaut quarterback, but he was efficient. He didn't make a lot of mistakes, and he had almost perfect Super Bowl. So that's probably what premium Brock Purdy would look like. Hopefully not.
20 or 25, 3 touchdowns. Okay.
And no turnovers, right? So
I had a guest on who brought up that what was the name of the Vikings quarterback? Case Keenum. He said that Brock Purdy is giving a lot of Case Keenum vibes. Case Keenum went on. He
He's
pointed
giving
out that
keto.
because Purdy's on a 7-game win streak, and I guess in 2017, Keenum went on a 9-game win streak, and like when you pull the
That's
numbers,
right. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, he
or
was darn near flawless.
would you lean more towards the spectrum of Purdy goes off or Eagles make him look like Case Keenum? Are you leaning more towards the Eagles make him look like Keenum?
Yeah, I'll say the latter. I'll not necessarily say that he'll turn the ball over, but I think it's a good chance that they can rattle him and he can get pressured. And I have no doubts that they'll be able to get to him. This team, 49ers have a good offensive line, but they're not great. They don't have as good of a line as the Eagles do. And
Absolutely.
I don't think they're strong enough. I don't think they're efficient enough to where they could totally neutralize the Eagles' defensive line. And Hassan Reddick, he's basically unblockable at this point.
Superstar
Yeah.
pass rusher, and those are special. Those only you don't use that name. That moniker should not be thrown around. Superstar pass rushers, you get a few of a generation or every year. He's in that group with the Micah Parsons. He had a better year than Micah Parsons. People say Micah Parsons.
He should have been. He should have made. He should have been first team All Pro instead of Parsons.
It's ridiculous.
I truly believe that. I mean, the edge rusher, linebacker, it's a competitive position. But if you look overall, Reddick had a better year than Parsons. But he's still an All-Pro team. But that was probably like my biggest gripe with those selections.
Snub. But Parsons is a worthy, if you're gonna get knocked for somebody, he is a baller.
He's okay. He's okay. I mean,
Micah Parsons is okay. You're a Micah Parsons okay guy. Because
I revert back. If he goes against a good team, aka a good offensive line, a good and Shanahan is he's a great offensive play caller. But what did the Eagles do to Parsons? Basically, both games. They put all the action his way, and they made him make decisions. Parsons is most great, and I'm saying he is a great player. He's one of the great players.
Yes, but he's at his greatest.
Right.
Yes,
but he's not at his greatest when you put all the action towards him, and the Eagles proved that this year. He was making he was forced to make decisions where he almost basically took himself out of plays. And
just watch the film. OJ's not wrong, y'all. He's not wrong.
That's what you do with players who just go all out and just attack.
And then he's gassed. You look at Micah at the end of games. He's gassed.
Then the conditioning. People thought they could do that with Lawrence Taylor, but the thing about, and that's why you have to be careful when you compare guys like that, because people were comparing him to Lawrence Taylor, and I was like, hold up, time out. You couldn't do that with Lawrence Taylor because Lawrence Taylor was just as good in coverage. I mean, Parsons is good in coverage, but Lawrence Taylor was just as great in coverage as he was as a rushing quarterback, and against the run also. So
it was ridiculous when people were saying. Yeah. It was ridiculous when people were saying that Micah Parsons could play every position on the field. I was like, what the hell are we talking about?
That's not true.
I mean,
that's
going
too far. And like I said, Lawrence Taylor is still the greatest defensive player I've ever seen.
But he couldn't do that.
Nobody's really close. I mean, you probably put perhaps Reggie White, perhaps Ronnie Lott, whatever. But I know that could be another show. I don't have Deion as high, probably top 10.
Okay.
but I wouldn't
Okay.
have Deion top five.
We'll have
I
to.
would put
I'll have to
this is
pick your
going,
brain on
yeah,
that.
yeah, this
No,
is
no, no.
going way
See,
back,
give
but
a
yeah.
give him a snippet though. But we'll bring. We have to get into that
Okay.
one more
So
lengthy.
this
But
is
give him a
just
snippet.
defense. So I'm going top five. So I'm going Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White, Ronnie Lott, Bruce Smith. Let's see, with five. And this is going way back. And so excuse me with this. When you talk about corners, I always start with Mel Blount because, and he almost predates me, but I saw him at the end of his career because this is my rule. This is
Okay.
OG's rule. If you change the game, if they name a rule after you, which is still talking about 45 years later, the Mel Blount
It's true.
rule.
Like Kareem.
Yeah, there you go. The Mel Blount rule. You cannot touch a receiver after 5 yards. That was strictly, exclusively to neutralize his greatness.
Because everybody was hacking downfield. Use a basketball euphemism. It was rampant, but he was locking
Right,
guys down.
right. And same way like this wasn't named after anyone, but the two-hand check. You can't two-hand check anybody. That's really the Georgetown rule, the John Thompson Georgetown rule. And that just escalated up to the NBA because they were ruining the game. Basically, when things like that happen, they basically diagnose you or accuse you of ruining the game.
To that point, I got a great question to ask you. Do you think that the league is going to change the rule on the the Eagles been just mowing down guys? You know what I'm talking about? That 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. Do you think they're going to take it away?
So, all right. So,
The
just
pushing of guys. I want to be specific. The
the
pushing of
goal line.
players
Okay,
forward.
yes, yes. So,
Pushing players forward on a 3rd and 1 or
they
fourth and
actually
one.
just they didn't really revise the rule. I think they were trying to, well, they allowed you to, but then they reminded guys like, okay, don't push them. You can kind of guide or have your hands up and everything, but you're like, don't push them. So
Wait, that they just
it all
released
depends.
that this week?
No, it was before the season. They kind of
Oh, okay.
relaxed it, but then I think during the season they just kind of sent reminders like, don't get crazy with it, pretty much.
The Eagles have gotten
Um,
crazy with it. I mean, guys are getting
yeah, they
dragged.
they
I
have
seen
they have.
Kelsey
I
drag
admit,
AJ Brown
they
into
have.
the.
Right, right. So kind of guided
I love it.
Jalen on a couple of them, but they might get together and just try to revise it or something like that, or just maybe emphasize. There's so many rules on the books that they don't even enforce. It's like a city ordinance enforcing jaywalking, right?
Yep.
It
Yep.
depends on what depends on it depends on how much
Yep.
revenue the municipality is
Who's on the
making,
beat?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And who
who's
the
on the beat,
individual
correct?
officer is too. Yeah.
Yeah,
If I
exactly.
feel like I
So
want to write that ticket, if I know I can.
there you go, there you go. Inches away from a fire hydrant, all those things. So they'll probably just try to make some type of revision. So and it also depends on what team lobbies the most or complains the most. Because you go in those owners meetings
The
and saying,
Cowboys are going to
yeah,
complain.
could be the Cowboys, could be the Giants because the Eagles just beat the hell out of them all year.
Yeah, they
So
did. 3 times. For all that talk about you can't beat a team, crushed them once in the regular
the
season,
math the
then
math
got a
doesn't
closer
math.
game where a dress rehearsal for the playoffs, the Eagles.
Yeah, someone actually looked up that stat. The math doesn't even math with that. It's one of the biggest myths ever.
No, it doesn't.
I think
Can you tell the people the math? Because you're right. The math is not mathing on
some my,
this.
my okay. So my actual numbers are a little off. So it was something like
58 and
20
20 or
of
something like that.
yeah, or it was like the last 20 of 26 or something. It's somewhere around that number. The last 20 of 26 contests, the the uh the team that beat the other team twice, swept the series. It was old first round NBA, 3-zip. You out, you going, or best of three in
Horrible.
Major League
Yes, yeah,
Baseball.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like a division series, so three and
yeah.
out.
Or like a baseball. You've been an umpire. You're an umpire.
Yep,
So three
yep.
strikes, you're out.
Three
Yeah.
strikes are
So
out. Best of three. Yep.
talking about the city ordinances, we brought it out. What's the feeling in the city? How are you thinking people are feeling about the game?
I think for the most part, people are optimistic, and I'm hearing double-digit wins from most people. Us in the media, we kind of measure it, and of course, we have to try to weigh both
Mm-hmm.
sides and think
Yep.
about think about the story if the Eagles do lose, or if it's
Angles.
a, if it's a
Yeah.
tight game, because that's the job, right? So, but most fans that I'm hearing, not only will the Eagles win, I'm hearing 31-20. I'm hearing 34-14. I don't think it'll be that drastic. And I know you'll ask me to score towards the end, but I think it'll be a fairly close game.
We
But
just get into it,
most
OJ. Just since everybody knows, I'm gonna ask you. Let's just not
Okay,
even
okay.
belabor it. What do you think is going to happen?
I think I think this is going to be a scoring game. Um,
Okay.
and I think Eagles will maybe get into the late 20s. I'll say something about I'm leaning towards around 27-14.
Okay.
27-14, 27-17, something like within that double digit, but I think San Francisco gets at least two touchdowns and the Eagles will get at least four.
You don't think the San Fran is going to have any special teams magic? Sprinkling in a special teams mishap, fumble return, or any of
Geez,
that?
I sure hope not, because that would be the worst time for it, because Michael Clay and special teams, they really kind of shored things up, over the last half of the season. While you say maybe the last quarter of the season. So I mean that would be a disaster, because you don't want to give San Francisco any free field position. You don't want to give them a short field. You also don't want to give them any freebies from special teams, and that could even be also missing field goals. Elliott he hasn't given us any reason that he's going to you know miss chip shots or anything like that. And also, here's the thing: I'm gonna let you in the press box a little bit. So
Okay.
my buddy Chris Murray, who writes locally here for the Philadelphia Sun, we always joke around about Britton Covey, and just saying
Okay.
that, oh yeah, he's gonna get crushed one of these days because
Yep.
he's so small and everything.
Yep.
But on the contrary, I say, listen, Covey's been consistent. He catches
He
the
has
ball.
been.
He
He
know
has
he
been.
knows how he knows when to fair catch it. He knows when to let it go into the end zone. When was the last time you've really seen uh, him make a mistake, or the Eagles have like very bad field position?
They said, damn it, like we've dealt with Jalen Rager for too long.
For
All we
too
need,
long,
it's
right?
like coming on,
We're
we
taking,
came off a bad relationship. I'm not even looking for the one.
yeah,
I just need
we're
somebody
taking,
to treat
yeah.
me right.
There you go, there you go. He Covey
Somebody
treats us
ain't gonna
right.
do me wrong.
He's not going to take you
He
out. He's
catches
not
the
going to wine you and
ball.
dine. He's not going to wine you and dine you at a 5-star restaurant. But he's not. He's loyal. he's he's the hard working man. He's not.
Absolutely,
He's
absolutely.
not going. He's not going to drive up in a Bentley for you and wine you and dine you. At your favorite restaurant,
Yes,
or what have you. But
exactly. And
he's
he's
going to
never
be
he's never
consistent,
going to be unfortunate anything. He's never going to be unfortunate anything. But
and you don't
if
and you don't
that,
have to worry about him coming home 3 o'clock in the morning.
nope, nope.
So there you go. That's
That's
Britton Covey
Covey.
for you. He's consistent. Yeah. All you could really, yeah, Rager was so bad, right? But all you could really ask for a punt returner is you catch the ball, you don't muff it, and you know when to let it go, when to not let it go. Period. Anything else after that is gravy.
Absolutely.
It really is, because your
So
job is
is
to maintain possession for the offense.
I was
And we were
I was
spoiled.
gonna. Oh, go ahead.
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead. We were
we were
spoiled
spoiled
by
with
who?
Darren Sproles too. We've been spoiled over years with Sproles back then, way back with the Westbrook and everything. So if a punt returner is stagnant or as bad as Rager is, yeah, it's like we're gonna long for those guys.
Yeah, we're rare is it that listeners you might remember back. I think it might have been 2014. The
Hmm.
Eagles won a game in Foxborough against Tom Brady purely on the back of defense and special teams. I mean, that is
That was
extremely
the
rare. You don't need
Asante
that.
Samuel game, if that's the one you're
As-
referring to. Yeah, yep,
Asante Samuel, you had I think did Nick Foles start that day?
I believe so.
But I don't think they did on offense. I don't think they
They
did
didn't do much at
anything
all
that
on
day.
offense. Yeah, I think Samuel had two picks. One was a pick six. They had a couple punt returns. I think maybe a couple rushing touchdowns. So
Sproles.
yeah, Sproles, right? Yep. So
It
there
was
you go.
Sproles. That was yeah. You don't get that. Covey just keep catching the ball. He makes good. He's he's breaking off these 7-8 yard returns every now and then. He's never going to take one all the way for you, but
What?
that's fine.
So what's the
I'll
he's
take it.
so what's your most consistent car? I first thing comes up is maybe a Prius or something. Yeah. So he's like a Prius. Not
Yeah.
fancy. It might
Yes.
might not have all the pickup and everything, but it's going to get you to and from work every day.
No. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're trying to show up, to the Met Gala, you probably do a rental,
Yeah,
but that's sort of,
you want to do a
and that's
rental or there
AJ
you go.
Brown. If the game, and that's in the situation where if the game comes down to, something terrible where it's like 21-17, Birds are getting like a punt return with like 8 seconds left. In that situation, we're not putting Britton Covey back there. We're probably putting AJ Brown or somebody like that back there.
Probably Devontae. You probably put back there
Devontae.
because he has returned a couple kicks this year. Well,
So
he
not
I would say
AJ.
return, but he has been back there as a as an extra returner. So
But you would say that you would guess that it wouldn't be AJ, it would be Devontae
yeah,
in
because of
that
the because of
case.
this
Okay.
because overall he has more speed. So
Okay.
and I think he
So
had
I've run into
I think if you look back at his Alabama days, I think he returned kicks then too. So if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, he's clearly proven that, he's not going to he goes over the middle of the field. That whole conversation just went,
He's he's
kind
a
of
lot
mum.
strong. By the way, he's a lot stronger and durable than I thought. Because he's
Than
being in the
everybody
locker
thought.
room and seeing him up front, yeah, and seeing him up front and everything up close and everything. I mean, of course, he doesn't have an ounce of body fat on him, right? And
Right.
he's tall, but when you see him up close, he's slim. Slim Reaper, right? Skinny Batman, right?
Yep.
But he's very well conditioned. He's very
Yep.
well conditioned,
He's
and
putting on
stronger.
more and more. He said I've been eating
You,
Wawa.
oh yes.
Remember he
But
said that to
yeah,
y'all?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. But yeah, he's a lot stronger and tougher. And not that I really question his toughness. That's kind of like a
Absolutely.
cliche, but
Yes.
I've been impressed because you would think with his size that he might be a little nicked up more. We might know of reports of him being nicked up more because everybody's nicked up during this time of the
Absolutely.
season. But
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's been impressive for me.
So is the Birds and Eagles people who are going to be rooting for the Eagles tomorrow, as they go to bed the night before, if you guys are listening, uh, who is the person that they're to you from that perspective is the Eagles' biggest nightmare?
Oof. I would say McCaffrey,
Mm,
because you don't want him to get going. You don't want him to have 100 yards, 100 total yards, 2 touchdowns, one receiving, one catching. You don't want him to have big chunks of runs, or screen passes and everything. I think that would be the biggest nightmare because um, primarily, well, two things. You would know that San Francisco is controlling the line of scrimmage, right? And two, that they'll be controlling time of possession, and that
hmm
can't happen. Eagles won't win this game. Neither of those can happen.
I feel like we get Avonte Maddox back, and I don't think and it's not their job to. It's more so our job to, because we get the
Hmm.
opportunity to talk about it and really know these players. To get
Right.
Avonte Maddox back at full strength now, that's an interesting little wrinkle. Like you could usually people spy quarterbacks. Why not spy McCaffrey? Just lock in, have Avonte Maddox on the field at all times for McCaffrey, something like that. I mean,
Well,
there's so many little
it's
things that Gannon will have the opportunity to do tomorrow or today, based on when you're listening to this, because all 53 Eagles are available.
yeah, it's going to be interesting how they play that middle. And like you said, having Maddox there is huge because that allows Gannon to do more things. That allows him to be more versatile. Does Maddox go with because Shanahan loves keeping guys in motion. You know what I mean? Does he go with a McCaffrey who goes in motion? Does he go with a Samuel who goes in motion? We can't forget about Ayuk. How are they going to play? Kittle, which actually, TJ Edwards is because I think if you look at his what's the Pro Football Focus and everything, I know people
Yes,
can take that with a grain of salt. I think he
absolutely.
comes out as their best. Um, he has one of the best grades against the pass on the team,
Interesting.
like right up there with Bradbury
That's
and
surprising.
Slay. So
That's
yeah, so
surprising.
not only that, we just take him as okay, he's a linebacker. He's going to lead the
Plays
league
the
in
run.
tackles, which he has.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah. So first of all, having Maddox back is going to be huge because that just gives them more versatility. And even if they have to go with more defensive backs, you can bring Blankenship in there. He can be another set of eyes
Absolutely.
across the middle, and also handling Kittle first and foremost, because they're going to try to get him going too. So that would be Kevin Maddox there is just that just gives Gannon so many other options, and that gives you more of a positive outlook.
And to be clear, y'all, I mean, you know, Maddox being back. Yeah, we talked earlier about guys are nicked up here and there, but they're not putting Maddox back out there, and he's hobbling. This is Maddox. Maddox is, if he's ready to go, if they're putting him out there, he's ready to go this week.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely,
corner,
absolutely.
he can't go out there at corner guarding Ayuk and Debo and be a liability. So let's be
Yeah,
clear on that.
and playing a nickel corner is probably in today's NFL, that's probably the toughest position on
It
defense.
is. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
I
So
believe.
yeah,
Because you got to know so much stuff. Because like you brought up earlier with the people moving in motion, and
you have to play one on
they're on the
one,
field so
and
much
you're
more.
almost like an extra safety on some plays. So yeah, so it's very important. And you see, uh, back when I know it was the ions ago, but um, you saw what Dallas did when as soon as Maddox came out, they just put CeeDee Lamb in the slot and they just let him go off. So
And it was
you
right.
know,
And they were
yeah,
exactly right to
the
do
right thing
that.
to do. There you
They were
go.
exactly,
Yep.
yeah, it was. Look, that's good coaching. Good job, Kellen Moore. But I hope you enjoy the game tomorrow. Both games you'll be watching, like OJ and I. Well, OJ will actually be in the stadium in the press box, but Kellen, next year maybe you can come to the link if the Cowboys keep you. They probably will, but
Yeah,
so
more than
who
likely.
do the Eagles
Yeah.
need? who the Eagles need to play. Who do the Eagles need to have their best game of the year in order to win? If I say this person blank had their best game of the year, you basically telling me the Eagles won.
Wow, best game of the year. I mean, you can think of so many guys who had their best game of the year. At- and when you ask that question, I automatically think offense. But now I'm over to the
Defense. I'm
defensive
including
side.
defense too. Yeah, me too.
So
If I
even though
say blank
Darius,
had their best game of the year, absolutely.
even though okay, I was going to say Darius Slay, but it may not be as much as a factor. I'll say Fletcher Cox.
Yep.
Because the book on if you look at the film, even though Purdy has been undefeated, if you look at the book of the film, the best way to beat Purdy is to rush him up the middle, and he has the
Yeah.
ability to backpedal even as he's throwing the football. So if someone like a Fletcher Cox, and I know he's not getting as many snaps, and that's a good thing, right, at his age. If he can run,
Keeping them fresh.
yeah, if he can rush that middle and cause some havoc and have Purdy backpedaling, that they'll get into those habits and everything. And I'm pretty sure that Shanahan has worked on that with him this week. And, all the offensive coaches, quarterback coaches, but I would say Fletcher Cox. If he plays his best game, Eagles win easily because when we get right down to it, Eagles have to make Brock Purdy beat them. And that means throw the ball more than he has to. And that probably starts on offense. Eagles getting a lead, early lead, which is how they like to play. They're gonna run their offense. They're probably not gonna change much. I know Steichen and Sirianni collectively, even Brian Johnson too. And Brian Johnson kind of doesn't really get the credit that he deserves, being a quarterback coach. And actually, some people were, he should be up for offensive coordinator job.
He should be. He should be.
So that's that. But I know they'll put together a game plan, some wrinkles and everything to just kind of diffuse what the excellent job D'Amico Ryans has done as defensive coordinator, who, we'll see. Looks like the front runner for the Houston Texans job, where he played most of his career.
Yes.
But if they get a early lead and they just run their offense and get things going, that's going to push the issue for Brock Purdy to throw. The more he throws, the more that'll be in favor of the Eagles.
I'm with you. I'm picking a defensive lineman as well, but I'm picking Josh Sweat. If Josh Sweat has his best game of the year,
I like that.
Me Josh Sweat. Yes, Josh Sweat has. Give me 3 Josh Sweat sacks. Give me 4 tackles for loss. I'm telling you, the Eagles win because they are. I mean, dealing with Hassan Reddick is hell already.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. This
you already know that he's going to probably get 2 sacks.
Yeah, this could be an ideal game for Josh Sweat to go off. So that's a great choice, man. I like that a lot.
If he does, I'm excited for it. He's one of my favorite Eagles on the team. I mean, you got Avante, you got Josh Sweat, Jalen. I mean, there's so many just guys, easy to like guys on this.
And I'll give you a bonus. I'll give you one more, Matt. The fans. I think the fans need to have their best game.
Okay.
Being loud.
That's
being. They just need to be overbearing tomorrow afternoon.
Yep.
Overbearing to where
come on,
they got to be Seattle loud. And I know the stadium's not built that way, but they got to be Seattle loud where you can't hear yourself think. to
People
where
are
couple false
preparing
starts.
accordingly.
How about,
As we speak, people are preparing
yeah,
accordingly, OJ.
right. I mean, maybe say, holler out Purdy or holler out, something.
Yep.
Find
Hmm.
out, what do the Dukies do down in Cameron Indoor Stadium? They think of everything.
They
And
do.
I know some of it's borderline,
Yes, it is
what, but
offensive. Yeah.
yeah, offensive. So yeah, just just go into the bio, go into the media guide online, and just find out everything. And just how
You
about
know they will though, OJ.
a couple of false starts on that opening drive? That would be ideal. That
Mm-hmm.
that that would get the crowd going. It's, oh yeah, we
It
have an
would.
effect. We are literally having an impact on the game. So let's go off. And someone said earlier, on one of the sports radio shows, someone said earlier today, as I was driving, and he said, what was that? Oh, the game is early. It's a 3 o'clock game instead of a 6:30 game or 8 o'clock game. So therefore, everybody won't be all tired and drawn out
Yep.
from all the
Yes.
drinking and all the
Yes.
tailgating.
Exactly. Exactly. It'll be first. It'll be bright and early.
unless
3 o'clock is
unless you get
perfect.
unless for those who get there at 7 a.m. and then they're done. So, and there are people who do that, by the
You
way.
got to know yourself. You got to know
Yes,
yourself. You got to know your limits. Come on.
save some for
Now
dessert.
they
Yes.
said they had last week they said they didn't let people in the lots, so people bought wings tickets. Did you hear about that? That they bought tickets to the
Absolutely, absolutely.
wings?
Yes. So I have a great relationship with the Flyers and the administrations, Congress Spectacor. They run they own the Flyers and they own the Wells Fargo Center here in Philly. So I got all the media and everything with the Wings, the Philadelphia Wings, the Phillies lacrosse team. They had a 1 o'clock game that day. And yeah, they had a 1 o'clock game that day. And of course, the lots, they control, certain lots and
Yep.
everything. So if you bought a ticket, yeah, you got to go on a lot. You're almost paying double for a parking space, I guess. But you're down there. I guess money's no object for them. So, and it was also
Exactly. I
it
mean,
also
for the
worked out.
people who are going, money is no
Yeah,
object.
right. So it also worked out as a warming station. So if you're out there tailgating that early, say, okay, I have a ticket, and it was pretty cold that day. It was pretty cool that day. So you can go into the Wells Fargo Center and warm up for a couple hours and come back out. You got round two. So yeah,
It's bonus.
Philly fans are resourceful and very creative, and it helps to have
That's what I'm saying.
all the it helps to have all the stadiums in one place too.
That's why I said, as we speak, literally as we speak, people are preparing to make this not an enjoyable experience for Brock Purdy. But let's go over to the AFC. What are you thinking about? That's a great, I think it's for all the talk about Josh Allen and others this year. I thought that these are the two best teams, the Bengals and the Chiefs. But who do you think comes out on top of that one?
And it's crazy, Matt, because the Bengals got off to a slow start this year. Because I think they started out 0-2 or maybe 0-3 or something. And,
They
they
lost
had
to Cooper Rush.
Right, right. Yeah, they were
Remember when
embarrassed
Cooper Rush?
that day. Yeah, they were embarrassed. But, they turned it around and they're also on this great run. Um, and, they came back, of course, Lamar Jackson was out, but they pretty much stole the division from the Ravens
They
and
did.
just kept on running. So um, for me, for this one, I'm going to take Cincinnati because KC they have to prove that they can beat Cincinnati. What are they calling it, Burrowhead now, right? I know some
It's like
bulletin board
Holyfield and
material for the
Tyson.
Chiefs. Yeah, yeah.
It's
So
like
I mean, they
Evander
had their
Holyfield.
number.
Like, you got to beat Holyfield. You got to beat him. I don't care about your highlights. I don't care about you
Right.
knocking out,
They, yeah,
X and X.
yeah. All cupcake featherweights and everything. Yeah. So yeah, you got to beat them. You got to beat. Kansas City has owned their division, and you could say, I guess short of the Chargers and everything, it's not a great division.
No,
It's not.
for all the talk this year, and I engaged in it because you look at the quarterback, you looked at those rosters before the season, but it ended up,
Yeah,
that landed with a thud. There
yeah.
was
It didn't work.
really
Didn't
the
work out.
Chargers are just gonna charge her. The Chargers is just one of those cursed organizations. It seems like
Yeah,
it's like the Cowboys, but worse.
they're
They're
gonna
like the poor man's Cowboys.